In this course on consumer behavior, we are going to learn about the different influences on consumer behavior, key psychological processes that take place and affect consumer behavior, and the buying decision process that consumers go through when they shop. We are also going to see how we can apply this knowledge as a retail business on our marketing and selling processes out of the store as well as at store level. At the end, we are also going to study special topics in consumer behavior that are specifically relevant to retail and see how they apply to a retail business. So let's get started. Consumer behavior is the study of the processes the consumers go through while selecting, buying, using, or disposing goods, services, or experiences to satisfy their needs and wants. Consumer behavior is an ongoing process. It does not just represent what happens on the cash register when a buyer hands their card to pay for the product. In fact, as we are going to explain throughout this course, buyers go through stages of pre-purchase. This is the stage where the consumer recognizes that he or she needs a product and decides on which sources are the best to get information about such products. Purchase. This is the stage where the consumer acquires the product and what experience they expect while acquiring the product. And post-purchase. This is when the consumers start to form an opinion about the product and whether or not it meets their expectation. This is also the stage that deals with the disposal of the product. Companies, on the other side, have a different role to play at each different stage. Pre-purchase stage. At this stage, the company needs to know what influences the consumer's buying decision. How do they form an opinion about a product, and what factors or features of the product do they value the most and will eventually play the biggest role in their buying decision. Purchase stage. At this stage, retailers need to understand how situational factors such as store display and environment or consumer journey at the store in general could influence the consumer's buying decision. Post-purchase stage. At this stage, the companies need to identify what influences the customer's satisfaction with the product and whether or not they would buy it again and become a loyal customer. They also want to know whether this customer would recommend this product and this particular retailer to their circle and thereby influencing the purchase decision of other consumers. Consumer behavior is influenced by cultural, social, and personal factors, with cultural having the deepest influence. Culture exerts the deepest influence on our wants and behavior. When we grow up, we are shaped by certain values, preferences, perceptions, and behaviors that we acquire from our families and the other institutions that shaped our childhood. For example, a kid who is brought up in the US would be exposed to the following values: freedom, practicality and efficiency, individualism, achievement, activity, progress. Cultures include different subcultures that further influence the behavior of consumers that belong to them. Subcultures can be defined based on geographic areas, origins and nationalities, religions, or racial groups. Subcultures also share common values, perceptions, preferences, and behaviors, and some of them grow to represent a sizable segment of the market. For example, Hispanic Americans are the fastest growing minority in the US and is expected to account for a quarter of the US population by 2050. The challenge they represent, however, is that they come from many different countries and have different racial backgrounds and aspirations. Despite that, they still share common characteristics such as strong family values, brand loyalty, interest in quality, they visit grocery stores twice as often per week, they are less likely to eat out. African Americans are the most fashion conscious among all ethnic groups. They are motivated by quality and selection and shop at neighborhood stores. The power of African Americans' influence on shopping is further extended by their influence on pop culture. A lot of trends in fashion, entertainment, and music start in African American communities and get out to the mainstream. Such is the case of a lot of hip-hop and rap-inspired fashion trends. That's why a lot of fashion and cosmetics brands started catering for the African American consumer by developing products that appeal to them and fulfill their needs. Asian Americans, which includes people from the Far East, Southeast Asia, and the Indian subcontinent, tend to be more brand conscious, and yet they are the least loyal to particular brands. Another factor that exerts a cultural influence is the social class. There are levels in the society whose members also share similar interests, values, and behaviors. A classic segmentation of social classes in the US is represented in the following hierarchy: lower lowers, upper lowers, working class, middle class, upper middles, lower uppers, and upper uppers. Each social class is indicated by a set of variables and not only one variable. These variables include income, occupation, wealth, education, and value orientation. People only one wealth, education, and value orientation. People could move up or down the social class hierarchy, which is described as mobility. The reason this segmentation is important in retail is that social classes show different product and brand preferences in many retail categories, such as clothing, furniture, and cars. Further to cultural factors, consumers are also influenced by social factors, and these include reference groups, family, social roles, statuses. Reference groups are groups of people who have a direct or indirect influence on the consumer's behavior. These include membership groups, which are groups that have a direct influence on the consumer, such as family, friends, neighbors, co-workers, and other religious or professional groups he or she belongs to. Aspirational groups are groups the consumer hopes to belong to. Dissociative groups are groups whose behaviors or values the person rejects. Influencer marketing, for example, is primarily based on the effect of these reference groups on consumer behavior. Marketers identify groups that their typical target customer belongs to or aspires to belong to and seek out key opinion leaders. In the social media age, they are called now influencers, and partner with them to influence the behavior of their target customer. This is also why when an influencer is caught up in some scandal or gets cancelled, companies quickly pull back from partnering with this person, because this influencer shifts from being part of the membership or aspirational groups into being part of the dissociative groups. And since all the three groups have an influence and a strong one, this could lead to a negative influence on the brand. Family members represent the strongest membership reference group. When it comes to family, there are two types of family in the buyer's life. Family of orientation, and this is the parents and siblings, and the family of procreation, and this would be spouse and children. The latter has a more direct influence on buyers' behavior. It should be noted here, though, that single adults have slowly been growing as a percentage of the population and might soon become a majority. Also, in a shift in buying patterns over the last few years, the influence of children and teens on the buying choices for the entire family has been growing. This does not only apply to choices in kids' meals or cereals, but even in big purchases such as cars or TVs. Consumer behavior is also influenced by personal factors, and these include age, occupation, personality, lifestyle, and values. We tend to change our choices in products and our behavior in consumption as we age. Our occupation or our work style also influences our consumption patterns, as well as the types of products we become interested in. For example, when recently many people started working from home, this has affected the types of clothing they were buying, and it affected the level of consumption of other products such as cosmetics and makeup. Our personality determines how to respond to different external stimuli and what kinds of brands we resonate with, based on the similarities between our personality and the personality of the brand. Brands have a personality too. For example, Levi's represents a brand personality that's young, authentic, rebellious, and American. We tend to lean more towards brands with a personality that's consistent with our own. People might share the same subculture or social class, but lead different lifestyles. These lifestyles influence their shopping behavior. For example, people who lead a lifestyle of health and sustainability will tend to favor organic goods and care too much about the post-purchase disposal aspect of the goods they buy, and whether it is good or bad for the environment. Others who lead a busy lifestyle will tend to go for fast, quick solutions for their needs, such as cereals and prepared meals. Finally, consumers are influenced by their core values. This is the belief system that determines their attitudes and behaviors towards everything in life.